Hello everyone, it's Kerry Jeffrey here. Welcome to the launch of my brand new program, How to Deal with Your Toxic Parents. And I'm using this webinar to tell you all about the program, who it's for, what it does, and how it's going to help you if you have toxic parents. So before I go into the program details, I just want to tell you a little bit about me. So you know how people can get stuck in toxic relationships or trauma and how that can leave them feeling anxious, depressed and hopeless. Well, I help people get unstuck and regain control of their lives and happiness with my powerful hypnotherapy programs. And I do this in person and using Skype all around the world, as long as we've got a reliable and stable internet connection. So the therapies that I use to help my clients include hypnotherapy, counselling, life coaching, and many other tools and skills that I've picked up on my 5 years in running this business now. So that's a little bit about me. Let's talk about the issues. So I created this program because over the past 3 years, I've been working with clients who have toxic parents, and the issues that they've had have ranged from quite severe, where there's been sexual, physical, or emotional abuse, to more moderate, where there's a lot of manipulation, a lot of control, a lot of criticism, and a lot of emotional damage that's happened to that person. And I've been working long-term and short-term with different clients in more of an ad hoc way. And because I've been doing this for a long time, I began to specialize in this particular issue, which is helping people overcome coming from a toxic parent family or a toxic family, because there are very specific issues that all relate to this. And what I saw was that I needed to put together a very strategic program that was very specifically all about what are the issues, overcoming the issues, and moving my client through a process to eliminate all the damage and the trauma that's been done, to empower them with new skills, and to do it in a very systematic and structured way. There's a real need for this program. There are so many people who are suffering in silence, believing that it really can't get any better. And I'm here to tell you that is not the case. You can overcome the most toxic parent relationships and create a happy, satisfying life for yourself with new boundaries in place, feeling able to speak your truth, ask for what you want, and save yourself from any more of the manipulation and the damage that goes on. And what this program is going to give you is a many-fold process. So we're going to get to the root of the issues. We're going to use very targeted hypnotherapy techniques to eliminate any of the trauma and any of the triggers that have happened through your childhood and through your life. So you're not going to have those triggers live in your subconscious mind anymore. And a little bit about trauma. Trauma is different things to different people. And I know when I use the word trauma, a lot of people think it must be something really, really severe that happened. Like, you know, you were physically attacked or sexually assaulted or in some sort of accident or saw a murder or something very traumatic. That's at one extreme. Trauma is different for everyone. And trauma that happens during childhood lasts much longer with you, even though it can be minimized over the years by people trying to trivialize what happened. Now, for example, if you were, say, in primary school and you got up in front of your teacher to present some work and you made a mistake and your teacher mocked you and all the other children laughed, That's a traumatic event that affected you profoundly. So the grown-up you may look back on that event and say, oh, that was nothing. It was just something that happened at school. There's still part of that that's lodged in your subconscious mind that's emotionally live. So it's like walking around with a little hand grenade that's ready to go off at any time. And that can be triggered through lots of different situations. So don't be put off when I say trauma. Trauma doesn't have to be a great, big, hideous event. It can be many different things that emotionally caused that trauma within you that eroded your sense of self, your sense of confidence, your belief in who you are, that undermines you and can still be triggered in the present moment now. And you are probably not even aware of how much trauma is lying underneath, because remember, no matter how you grew up, it was normal for you. You could have the most toxic parents in the world. You didn't know any differently. Your family is normal to you until you start getting out in the world, seeing other families and seeing how other families treat each other. So what the program is going to give you is going to remove all of the trauma, to give you new skills in terms of communication, negotiating, asking for what you want. It's going to allow you to set strong boundaries. It's going to enable you to set goals for yourself and be supported 100% every step of the way. It's going to give you your life back in your control. So how do you know if you have toxic parents? Well, you know by how you feel. And how you feel is like you're constantly walking on eggshells around your parents. So you modify your behavior. You deliberately change what you're doing. There's things that you don't say, there's things that you don't do. You try to manage their emotional state to protect yourself so that they don't get angry, they don't get upset, they don't act victimized, they don't make demands on you. So that's that constant process of observing your parents and trying to minimize or manage their emotions so that you feel safer. And if you've grown up in a toxic parent family, you are exceptionally good at that. In fact, you pick up on everybody's emotions around you because that's what you've been trained to do. When you were a little child, living in that toxic parent environment, you had to be a keen observer of your parents' emotions in order to know when trouble was ahead. And you've carried this through into your adult life. So you're very, very sensitive to the emotional atmosphere around you. You feel guilty and anxious all the time, particularly when you're going to have an interaction with your parents, because no matter what you do, it's never going to be enough. There's going to be another demand, there's going to be another criticism, there's going to be another manipulation. You know you've got toxic parents when you feel guilty and anxious about them most of the time. And do you feel responsible for their feelings? And do you feel responsible for their happiness? And you've probably been told that since you were a very young child, or you've been led to believe that as a result of who you are and what you do and what you say and how you behave, that directly affects their moods, their emotions, their happiness, and their actions. You may have been told this directly, or it may have been implied, so that you just grew up feeling that you were responsible for their feelings. And as an adult now, you feel responsible for the feelings of everyone else in your life, to the point where it can affect you at work because you are so sensitive to how other people feel and you're used to being blamed for how people feel. You can be a keeper of the family secrets. So if there's an addiction like alcoholism or drug abuse, if there's abuse in the family, so domestic abuse, you can be forced to feel that you have to keep the secrets, that you have to be faithful to the family, that you don't betray them. And you'd be told a lot of things like, don't let anybody know, don't shame the family, we've got to keep it a secret. And again, that can be stated to you, or it can be just implied that that's what everybody does. Everybody protects the outside world from knowing what's going on in the family, or vice versa. And that can be a very heavy burden to carry. You feel unloved and unappreciated by your family. It doesn't matter what you do, it's not good enough. That approval, that love, that acceptance that you've always been wanted just seems to be there, out of reach. It just doesn't happen. And you can often feel teary, depressed, blamed, and frustrated. And usually, if you are teary, you'll be told, what are you crying for? I'm the one who should be crying. You're being too sensitive, you're overreacting. So no matter what you show in terms of your emotions, it's always going to be phrased as a form of weakness. So you shouldn't feel that way. And then you feel guilty for feeling all of those feelings about your family. And one of the biggest issues with having toxic parents is it's not something that people talk about. There's this feeling of shame involved in this relationship. Because in every other relationship, say if you have an abusive partner and people know that that's going on, they would be encouraging you to leave. They would be supporting you to do so. They would be telling you, you deserve so much better and you don't deserve to be treated like that. But when the toxic people in your life are your parents, it's a whole new ballgame. There are so many things built into our society, into our religion, into our faiths, into our culture, about the position that our parents have in our lives and the respect and honour that they should be given. So it can seem very disloyal and very shameful to talk about the facts that the parents, your parents, are the ones who are being abusive, or your parents are the ones who are treating you so badly. So there's a lot of silence, there's a lot of shame about talking about the reality of the issues, and the support in the community is just not there. In fact, the opposite. You might be made to feel guilty because you should be looking after your parents, or you should be being loyal, or it will be minimized. So people will tell you that it's not that bad, or you just have to put up with it, or you just need to understand them. So you don't get that validation, you don't get that acceptance, and you don't get the acknowledgement that there really is a problem there. Which is why this program and what it does is just so important, because there's nothing else like it out there in the world at the moment. And what your parents will tell you about your feelings is that there's something wrong with you. And there must be something wrong with you to be feeling and acting the way that you are, because everything's fine and there's nothing to get upset about, and you're making it all up. And they'll tell you things like, you're too sensitive, you're overreacting, you take everything the wrong way. Or that you're exaggerating, it wasn't that bad, it was just a little blow up, that's just the way your father is, you're making too much of it. Or you'll be told you shouldn't be so upset, you shouldn't feel that way, you shouldn't blow it all out of proportion. And you can also be told that you're selfish and you're ungrateful, and how much you you owe your parents and everything that they've done for you and everything that they've given you and everything that they've sacrificed for you, that you're a selfish and ungrateful child, and that you're lying, that they're minimizing what you're saying, that they're trying to make you doubt yourself. And the biggest guilt inducer is you're trying to ruin the family. You're trying to hurt me. You can hear things like, you're trying to kill me. You're trying to give me a heart attack. You're trying to drive me crazy. You're trying to ruin me. You're trying to upset me. So the finger is always going to be pointed very firmly back at you. And all of this combined together is a form of gaslighting. And gaslighting is a very powerful, insidious form of manipulation and control and emotional abuse, because what it does is it attempts to make you doubt the truth of your experience, to doubt what you're feeling, to doubt what you're experiencing, and then to doubt yourself. Because when you buy into gaslighting, then you have to deny your own reality. You have to put the finger back on you and say, maybe I am exaggerating. Maybe I am being too sensitive. Maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe it really is me. Gaslighting can drive people to feel that there is something wrong with them, that their mind is unreliable, that their memory is unreliable, and they're always second guessing themselves, always blaming themselves. So it's a very powerful tool of the abusive and manipulative people out there. And what your parents will attempt to make sure that you understand is that they come first. No matter how tired you are, no matter how busy you are, no matter how it affects your relationships or your family or your work or your holiday plans or your doctor's appointments, it doesn't matter. No matter how broke you are or how in debt you are, no matter what your own priorities are, your family will continue to insist and expect that they come first. And there are several key issues that all of the children of toxic parents end up with. So see if any of these sound familiar to you. So you develop avoidance. So it might be that, when the phone rings and you've had caller ID and you see that it's your parents' number, you don't answer the phone, or you stop wanting to go to family events, or you try to cut down the time as much as you can, or you just say yes to avoid the argument. So you just try to ignore what's going on, you try to avoid what's going on, and just to minimize the effects that it has on you. And this can spill out into the rest of your life because you start avoiding other issues going on at work or at home that bring up that same sort of emotional response. You live with a lot of guilt. You can be made to feel bad because you're not a good enough son or daughter, that you're not doing enough, that you're not loving enough, you're not considerate enough, you're not thoughtful enough, you're not working hard enough, all of those different sorts of things. That guilt is the main weapon that toxic parents use to get what they want. Because remember, they come first. And manipulation is one of the key issues that you will experience. So it will be sibling against sibling. It will be lies about what people have said. It will be attempts to upset relationships. It will be attempts to come between people. There will be outright lies and deceit. Truth will be bent in order to get their way. So manipulation is a key tool. Guilt and manipulation are two of the most powerful things that toxic parents use to get what they want. And what they want is for you to behave in a way that is pleasing to them, that gets their needs met without any regard to yours. interference. So this can be lots of interference in your personal relationships, in your career choice, in where you choose to live, in your marriage, in raising your children. They will be constantly in there telling you that what you're doing is not good enough, trying to change things for you, trying to make things different, trying to rearrange or organize your life. What I want you to do is live the life that they think you should be living, not the life that you want to live. And constant criticism. You could get the best scores at school, you could get the biggest raise at work, you could get all the awards and the prizes and the accolades from the rest of the world, and it will still not be good enough for your parents. There's something you could have done more of, there's something you could have tried more of, or they will remind you of something that you're still not doing right. There's never going to be acknowledgement or validation of what you've done. They're the masters of giving the backhanded compliment. So seeming to give you praise, but with a sting at the end of it. There's always going to be a put down there. And denial. You can be in denial. Your parents can be in denial. Everybody in the family can be in denial. But the biggest issue is that you live in denial because you minimize the impact that this is having on you and your life. It seems too hard. It seems too overwhelming. It seems like it's too much to deal with. And even when your partner may point out the truth of what's going on, about how badly you're being treated, about how much your parent is interfering in your relationship, you're still going to minimize it. You're still going to be in denial of it because that's what you've been taught to do. And you're going to be sitting on top of a mountain of resentment. Resentment, anger, fury, frustration. And all of that, if it's not dealt with, turns inwards. And then you end up with depression. And how it affects you. You can feel that there's a lot of neediness. You can feel very insecure. You can have low self-esteem issues. So you don't believe that you're worthy. You don't believe that you're good enough. You don't feel lovable. You don't feel appreciated. You don't feel secure. It doesn't matter what you achieve. It never feels good enough to you. There's always the next goal to set and the next mountain to climb and the next achievement to go to. You never feel like you're enough. There can be a lot of grief with that yearning for the parent that you always wanted them to be, the family that you always wanted them to be, that wanting to have that parent who would be there for you and be reliable and love you and support you and be proud of you. And that yearning doesn't go away. That's what keeps you in there, that hope that one day you will find the right words or you'll do the right thing that will finally get them to see how wonderful you are. And that is a fantasy that locks people into so much grief and so much heartache and so much disappointment, or keeps you seeking that in other relationships, looking for that fantasy family and the parents that you didn't have. It can leave you with a fear of confrontation, because you've been taught how to people please, and remember that you have that wonderful skill of being able to be very sensitive to the emotional atmosphere of other people, very aware of their moods, very aware of the little physical changes, the expressions on their face, all of those different things. So you've been powerless in that situation, or maybe you were the one who fought against the parent and stood up for everyone, but it didn't really get you anywhere. It was a powerless feeling. You could even be told not to do that by one of the other parents, because every time that you stood up, every time that you tried to protect them, it only made it worse for them. So confrontation is a really big fear. Most people are afraid of confrontation, but if you come from a toxic parent background, that fear can be even worse, because you've learned that there's no point, it's just hopeless, and it only leads to worse behavior and worse consequences. You have a need for approval. There is a part of you that is still waiting for people to tell you how wonderful you are and really appreciate you and tell you how lovable you are and tell you that you are good enough. But no matter how much external approval you get, it never seems to be enough. It can be like there is this black hole inside you that can never be filled with that feeling of being approved of, that feeling of being loved. And you can find it incredibly difficult to set and keep boundaries, because if you have toxic parents, any boundaries that you set were just steamrolled over, dismantled, or ignored. So it just seemed pointless to even try. So in your life with other people, that can make it mean that you have incredible difficulty saying no, that you take on way too much, that you are scared to tell somebody you can't do something. So you can be easily taken advantage of. You can be taken advantage at work. You can be taken advantage of in your relationships and your friendships. Having strong boundaries is a key part of being a healthy, functioning adult human. And if you come from a toxic family, you're really going to have issues being able to set and keep those boundaries. And that you feel responsible for everyone else's feelings. And this can be an incredible burden to take on, because what it means is that you keep trying to change yourself. You keep trying to anticipate the need. You keep thinking that if only I do this, or only if I say that, or only if I behave in this way, that that other person will feel better. And when somebody around you seems to be angry or seems to be upset, there's that fear inside you immediately that, oh, it must have been me. I've done something. They're unhappy with me. So you can go around with this almost like this feeling of there's a sword hanging over your head that's going to drop on you at any moment. Because that's the result that's come from your relationship with your toxic parents. And you sacrifice your own dreams and your own happiness because you've been taught that that is not important. So you can give away your dream jobs. You can let incredible opportunities go. You could have moved to a different city or a different country when something wonderful came up, but you didn't do it because your family made you feel that you would be deserting them or abandoning them. There was so much guilt involved. So you can give up everything that's important to you for your family. And that leads to depression and powerlessness and helplessness, and that feeling that why bother having dreams when you don't have the opportunity to go after them, or when somebody else can take them away from you. And if you're in a relationship and you have toxic parents, there's some very different factors that come into play when it comes to your partner. So the interference or the disapproval. So this can be in the early days when you meet someone and you're getting into a relationship with them, that your parents will be very concerned about who that is. They will be vetting that person. They will be deciding whether they're good enough or not good enough, and they will be very much involved in trying to be in control of that relationship and to have a lot of power over your relationship. And even if you do go ahead and marry that person, they will always make it clear that they don't like that your partner, or they disapprove of your partner, or you should have chosen differently. And your partner feels that. Your partner knows that. And your partner is part of that constant interference, and can make it very difficult for them to spend time with your family when they know that they're not really wanted there, they're not really liked, they're not really approved of. And it can make you seem very unreliable and very unavailable to your partner, because they might want to spend time with you, they might want to plan with you, and then at the last minute your family calls and you need to do something, and so they see you as not being reliable, you're not always available to them. That can cause so many problems, because it's difficult to plan your life as a couple when your parents or your partner's parents have so much power over your relationship. Your partner can feel really angry on your behalf, because when you love someone, it's really difficult to watch them being abused. It's really difficult to see your partner crying and so hurt and so upset over the treatment by their own family, and they get angry on your behalf. But what usually happens is, when you get angry, your partner then goes into, or you go into protection of your family, which is a natural response, but it causes so many issues. So your partner sees what happens to you. They get really angry and defensive on your behalf, but then you go into protective mode and you become angry with them, or you tell them to be quiet, or you tell them not to say anything to your family. And so they lose their role of being able to protect you, because any protection they want to offer just seems to be rejected, or to be made into another problem. So they go around with a lot of unexpressed resentment and anger on your behalf, and it leaves them feeling powerless to help you. And there is that feeling of helplessness, that you can just watch the person you love being so upset, being so manipulated, being so hurt. It's a really difficult position to be in, and to be at family events where you can see the person you love being treated in that manner. It's a really difficult situation to be put in, and it causes a lot of frustration. And they feel powerless to help you. They feel powerless to do anything about your situation, and that causes friction between you, and that can end marriages and relationships. And they feel that they're not your priority. And in many cases, that's absolutely true, because they're not your priority. As much as you love them, as much as you care about them, when you have toxic parents and you've had years of being manipulated and pleasing them, then in a sense it feels easier for you to give them what they want. But that's not being fair to your marriage. It's not being fair to your partner, because your partner and your marriage deserves your priority and deserves your commitment. And that can cause huge problems in the relationships and marriages of people with toxic parents. You have permission. You have permission to make yourself your first priority. You have permission to set and keep strong boundaries. You have permission to say no. You have permission to speak your truth. You have permission to feel safe and happy. You have permission to be loved and respected. You have permission to be exactly who you are and live life on your terms. Now, did any of those permissions push your buttons? All of this stuff is very, very powerful. And what I've just said is going to trigger all of those things you've been told about being a good son or daughter, about not being selfish, about being respectful, about honoring your parents, all of those things to conform to the family to go along. So just go back over those statements again later and think about which one of those sparked some anxiety in you, sparked a reaction in you. Because what I've just told you are your basic rights, and you deserve to have all of those things. And more importantly, you can have all of those things. So what the you can you so what the program is about is it's 7 sessions to success. So as I said before, I've put this into a very strategic, very focused program. And the first session runs for 90 minutes, and that is all information gathering. So what we're going to do in that session is we're going to go over the history of your relationship with your family, the key things that have happened. What I'm going to be looking for in that session is the triggers, the trauma, the biggest issues that you have. I'm going to be looking at exactly where you are stuck and getting detailed information about that so that we can use that in the rest of the sessions and overcome that. Sessions 2 and 3, we're going to systematically focus on releasing all of the trauma and the triggers, and that's using the information that we gathered in session 1. So that will be focused hypnotherapy to, in a very relaxed and safe way, to release the trauma and the triggers. And when I talk about releasing the trauma and the triggers, you do not need to re-experience the events. You do not need to give me a massive amount of information. There's no need for you to relive it or go over it again. With the specific hypnotherapy technique that I use, you're going to be feeling really relaxed. It's a pleasant experience. You're not going to relive anything that happened. What it's going to do is give you a measurable result. So what we're going to do in those sessions is that for each trigger and trauma that we're releasing, we will have a scale of how high you were in anxiety prior to that, and then you will actually see the result. Now, I've used this technique with people who've experienced sexual abuse, physical abuse, PTSD. Everybody gets a fantastic result in the very first session. So it's very powerful, it's very safe, it's very relaxing. There is no trauma involved, but you are going to feel markedly different at the end of it. For sessions 4 and 5, we're going to be focusing on giving you the tools to communicate and set those boundaries. So that's going to be quite goal-oriented. There's going to be techniques that you're going to get to practice. There's going to be lots of information and lots of support. So we're going to start setting some goals for you and starting to practice those skills in the safest possible way. So we're going to start small and work our way up. And again, you're going to get the support from me every step of the way. Session 6 and 7, we're going to be moving into the goals that you want to achieve for your life. So remember, this is all about getting you back in control of your life and happiness. If you have toxic parents, you probably have given up on those dreams of being happy, given up on, waiting for what you want. This is going to connect you back into the life you really want to live. And that is what we're going to be working on. And you're going to have that support the whole way along. And again, you can start small and work your way up. So you can just see from this system, it's very comprehensive. So getting rid of the trauma and the triggers, getting all that key information that we need, setting the boundaries, having that clear communication so that you can start taking control back in your life, and then aligning you back to your goals and giving you that practice so that you can build confidence in the skills, and you are going to be feeling like a different person at the end of this program. And as well as that, you're going to get weekly email support from me. So between sessions, you're going to be able to email me with anything that came up or something that you're really struggling with, and I will get back to you. So we're always going to be connected for the whole of the program. You're going to have that support from me between sessions. You're going to get a fabulous hypnotherapy MP3 as part of your program called Creating Confidence. So you're going to be able to listen to that as often as you want between the sessions, which is going to help to embed that fantastic results at the subconscious mind. So it's going to give you that confidence, help you relax, help you feel better about yourself, and build up those skills. So it's really going to cement in all of the powerful positive changes that we're going to be making during the session. And you're going to be given targeted handouts and worksheets to deal with specific areas. So you can see that this is a program which is very interactive, moving you through a process, giving you lots of skills, lots of support to help you really feel good about yourself, to have your confidence, to learn the communication skills, and to eliminate all of the trauma, all of the triggers, and give you your power back. So this is for you if you're sick of feeling guilty, if you are over being constantly manipulated, if you're tired of working on eggshells and feeling blamed for everything and trying not to set them off, if you want to stop being made to feel responsible for their feelings, if you want to stop jumping through all the emotional hoops, trying to please them all the time, if you want a better relationship or marriage, if you are ready to take control of your life and your future, just imagine if you felt calm and comfortable when you were with your parents. And what would it be like if their manipulation was a thing of the past? And if you could see them or hear from them and not get drawn into the drama, how would that be? And if you felt safe to be who you are, to live life on your terms, to do the work that you want to do, to have the relationships that you want to have. Imagine if your family no longer controlled your life. Who would you be then? How would your life be different to what it is now? And let's talk about the biggest fears that always come up. Will I have to end my relationship with my parents? No, absolutely not. In fact, 99% of the people that I work with actually have improved their relationship with their parents in ways that they would have found unbelievable at the start. So I know it's hard to imagine now, but your relationship with your family can change in amazing ways, and you don't have to end the relationship unless you absolutely want to. It is totally up to you. This program has nothing to do with having a foundation of ending your relationship with your parents. It is going to make all of your relationships better and richer and more enjoyable. Well, what if they reject me? This is such a common fear because remember, if you've been raised by toxic parents, rejection is the name of the game to control you. That is the fear that they use to make you go along to do what they want you to do. So you are going to have this exaggerated fear of rejection. That is one of the biggest fears that comes up, and it has not yet been shown to be true. It's all threat and bluster. It's a manipulative tool. It's used to control you. Another big fear is, what will the rest of my family think? And that's another means of controlling you. What will people think? What will people say? What will the neighbors say? What will the family say? What will the grandparents say? It's another method of control that's given you that fear that you have. We're going to work through all of these fears, and you're going to discover that they're completely unfounded. What if I can't do it? There's no reason that you can't do it. You're going to be given all the support that you need. The one thing that you need to do this program is commitment to the process. That you know you deserve a better life, that you know you deserve happiness. And if you're committed to that process, if you do your part of the work, if you show up and you learn the skills and you practice them and you go along, you are going to be able to do it. That's just a fear that comes along. It's just something that you've been taught not to dare to dream, not to think that it can be any different than it's always been. And what if it doesn't work? As long as you do your part, it is going to work. It is a two-way process. This is an active process. It's not a passive one. I can't make you change. Nobody can make you change. If you want to change, you need to show up and do the work. I will give you the benefit of the skills, knowledge, experience, and training that I have. I will do everything that I can to support you. Work as long as you do. Remember, it's not a passive process. How many years have you spent trying to change your parents? Did that work? No. You can't make somebody else change. You are the only person who can change yourself. So I promise you, if you work with me and you show up and you do the work, it is going to work for you. How do you apply for the program? Well, the way that you do that is that you book your free discovery session with me. You can do that on the website, or if you are around in Melbourne, in Victoria, Australia, you can give me a call and talk about it there. So this is actually an application process for this program. I do need to talk to you. I do need to assess your suitability, because it's not going to be suitable for everyone. And I want you to get the best results. So if I don't think this program is appropriate for you, once we talk about it, I will be able to suggest something that's going to help you in a different way. So the only way to get into this program is to talk to me on the phone or to book your free discovery session on the website. And then we're going to talk about it, and I can answer any specific questions about the program there. But it's really important that I speak to you about it first. What you're going to get from this program is you're going to get a solution, not a band-aid. Now, you might have seen therapists before. You might have spent thousands of dollars trying to get help from counselors and psychologists and all different sorts of therapists, but you found that that's just been a band-aid. It's made some things better, but it hasn't got to the issues underneath. It hasn't gotten to the key factors. It hasn't gotten down to where the problem really is. Talking about an issue doesn't solve the issue. This program is going to give you a solution. No more band-aids, no more talking about it. We're going to take action. We're going to get to the root of the problem. We're going to give you new skills, and it's going to give you a solution so that you have a solid foundation of emotional security that you can build on. You absolutely deserve to be happy. You absolutely deserve to have what you want. You are here to live your life on your terms, not your parents' ideas of the life that you should be living. You have a right to that. And I want to help you achieve that amazing life. I want to help you get that happiness, get that peace, get that confidence for yourself. So thank you for joining me today. I look forward to hearing from you. And remember, if you want to be part of this program, book your free discovery session with me now. Call me if you're around Melbourne, Victoria. I work with people all around the world on Skype. As long as we've got a strong connection, you can change your life. You deserve a fantastic life. So start today. Make yourself a priority. Take the first big step to changing your life. Thank you.